Now found guilty of an attack on a police officer 2 years ago.
Action 2 News first reported when Alicia Koken was accused of shooting Officer Nicole Blaskowski in the head in 2021. Blaskowski survived. Koken is charged with multiple felonies, including attempted first-degree intentional homicide and resisting an officer causing substantial bodily harm. In a First Alert update, Emily Roberts takes us inside the Oconto County Courthouse with the latest on this case.
The court will now find you guilty.
Alicia Koken leaves Oconto County Court now found guilty by the judge of multiple felonies stemming from allegedly shooting a police officer. Koken originally saying not guilty before correcting herself and pleading no contest to all charges.
You understand that by entering your plea of no contest, you give up your constitutional right to have a jury trial. As to the first phase of this matter.
Yes,
Though the court now finds Koken guilty on 4 felony charges, she's preparing for a second phase where a jury decides if she's responsible for the crimes based on her mental condition.
The defendant reasserts that she is not guilty of any crime as a matter of law. The state and the defendant hereby agree that the defendant's culpability is still an area of legal dispute.
Now, state and defense attorneys are focusing on new evidence uncovered just this week.
And it has to do with the defendant using some drugs, whether they're prescribed or not prescribed, in the jail.
I agree that Dr. Collins should see this, but I just would ask you to hold off on making that ruling until I get to read this in more detail.
7 days are marked off for the jury trial in late September. And should jurors decide she is responsible for the crimes, she faces a maximum sentence of 88 years in prison. In Oconto, Emily Roberts, Action 2 News.